Hi. Happy
Sunday.
And happy Mickey Mouse.
Happy Mickey Mouse.
What? Happy Thursday.
Thursday. It's Sunday.
Happy Thursday.
It's Sunday. All right. Is that all you're going to say?
Happy. No.
No? What you going to say?
Good night.
Good night. All right.
Good morning.
All right.
Bye.
Slash day, slash
Go.
evening,
Bye.
slash whatever.
Alright.
That's all on.
All right.
And the sun.
No, that's Mom's. Go find Dad. Elizabeth, stay right there. I think he went that way. All right. Today is probably going to be a pretty short devotional. There's not much to this one. We started the farmers last week. And this week we're going to jump right into it. We're going to talk about the controlling farmer. And where we get the controlling farmer from is 1 Corinthians 3:15 through 19. And it said, if anyone's work is burned up, he will suffer loss, though he himself will be saved, but only as through fire. Do you not know that you are God's temple and that God's Spirit dwells in you? If anyone destroys God's temple, God will destroy him. For God's temple is holy, and you are that temple. Let no one deceive himself. If anyone among you thinks that he is wise in this age, let him become a fool that he may become wise. For the wisdom of this world is folly with God. For it is written, he catches the wise in their craftiness. So when I read these verses, the thing that sticks out to me is don't think more of yourself than you ought to. I guess verse 18, sorry, I got a bug flying in my face. Verse 18,
Mommy, touch my daddy.
baby daddy just went out the front door.
Oh, daddy just went out the front door.
Sorry. That you shouldn't think more of yourself than what you ought to. And don't let no one deceive himself. If he thinks he is wise, let him become a fool. The wisdom of this world is folly with God. Okay, so that sticks out to me. And that's the main point of the controlling farmer. But I want to look at two characteristics of this particular farmer. And the first one is this controlling farmer keeps God's laws. Okay, so if we stop right there and we see that, okay, he's a controlling farmer. Controlling doesn't really sound good, but he is the controlling farmer. But hey, wait a minute. He keeps God's laws. That's a good thing. This is a good trait. That's what we want to do. So if I just stopped right there, all of us should say, hey, I want to be this controlling farmer. He keeps God's laws. He does what he's supposed to do. He's a good person. But there's a second characteristic. The second one is this controlling farmer wavers when he has done his best and the results are not good enough. Now let's let that sink in a minute. This is a bad trait. Why? How many of us are like this controlling farmer? When the results are not good enough, this farmer starts to question things. Sounds familiar, doesn't it? When things don't go our way, does our faith begin to waver? When our marriage falls apart, does our faith begin to waver? When our children fall away, does our faith begin to waver? When we lose our job, when we, whatever, fill in the blank, major life-altering things, does our faith begin to waver? And if we're honest with ourselves, has to be, and I'm not that old, but there have been times in my life that I start to question things. Now, to me, this is where we've got to be careful. And as a Christian, and this is me, this is Paula's opinion, I think it's okay to question things as long as I study to find the answer. I cannot question things and say, oh, well, I was married 45 years and my husband left me, so my faith in once married, we're going to stay married, he'll always be faithful to me, didn't come true, so I'm going to waver from that. I'm going to go get married 2 or 3 more times. And I'm okay. I'm not going to study. That part doesn't apply to me. Or we have a death of a loved one And we prayed and we prayed and we prayed. You know, God answers prayers. We've heard this all our life. God answers prayers. God answers prayers. Well, guess what? He didn't answer this one. He let my loved one pass. My faith may begin to waver. What do we have to do? We can't let our faith waver. We start to rethink things. We start to question, hey, is that really true? This fell apart when it says, you know, in the famous thing that I've heard lately, we just got back from a lectureship, and there was a bunch of kids there, and I always think of this verse, train up the child in the way that you ought, and he should not waver. Well, we all know as parents, we can do the best. They can be at church every Sunday. We can do Bible studies at home. We can do fill in the blank, and yet our child may waver. Our child may not be faithful. Our child may take a different path. So when my child does that, does my faith stay strong? Do I still stay that strong Christian? Or do I become the controlling farmer that, okay, this didn't turn out right, so really is all this other stuff true? Is the rest of the Bible true? Because this one thing fell apart and that I believed all my life was going to stay true, stay steady, and it didn't. We got to be careful, because if we're honest with ourselves, I think we've all found ourselves in a situation where we start to rethink things. And it may only be for a split second. It may take us away from the faith for a few years, and then we come back. We've got to be careful about our faith wavering. So we know those are the characteristics. We got a good trait, we keep God's laws, and then we got a not so good trait that we begin to waver. When we don't get the results we want, we begin to waver. The condition of the controlling farmer is self-confident. I can do it by myself. I'll do it by myself. I need nobody else. It's all me. If I have myself, it can get done. We know that the Bible tells us without God, we are nothing. How many of us daily try to do things ourselves and have the mentality that no one can help us, or that asking for help is a sign of weakness? If we do, we are the controlling farmer. How many of us think that if we don't do it, we won't get it done right, or it won't get done right? And I kind of had to chuckle when I did this one, because I was thinking to myself, and I'm sure everybody's been in the same boat, because I've heard this scenario from a lot of people. But growing up, you know, my mom cleaned the house. I cleaned the house. And it would aggravate me to no end that, especially when I was doing the laundry. We had hardwood floors, so we had a dust mop. And I was dust mopping that laundry room, and I was getting all the lint out, and I was so proud of myself, because, you know, you took it out and we shook it on the carpet, and then you vacuumed it all up, and you saw all that dirt falling out of the mop, and I was like, look at that, I got all that dirt. Well, Mama, I'm done. Mom, I'm done. Okay, thanks, Paula. And I'll go in another room, and next thing I know, here goes my mother with the mop, and she's back in that laundry room, and she's dusting it again. And we all have different stories, so then I get kind of put out, right? Well, if I didn't do it right, just do it yourself. That was not her point, and that's a silly scenario, but let's put it in the workplace. I don't want to train anybody to take my position, because I'm the only one who can do it right. I've done it for 45 years. They're not going to do things the way I do it. I'm the only one that can do this job. I'm not going to give my job up. I'm not going to train the next person. I've been in those situations personally. I've actually had a person tell me, I will not train you. I do not want you to do my job. Now, on the flip side of that, we see things change. So the way you did it 45 years ago is not going to be the way someone is trained to do it today. There's been computers. There's been all kinds of stuff. That's not what I'm talking about. It's the self-controlling, I can't take a vacation because if I do, the office is going to fall apart. I can't let my kids go anywhere without me because if I do, they're going to get in trouble. It's that self-control. I'm going to do it by myself. I don't want anybody to help us. Let's bring it closer to home. Let's bring it to church, since we're all supposed to be Christians. We're in the church. We've got an activity going on. Say VBS. That is the time of year for VBS. We got VBSs going on. I'm in charge of decorations. I don't want anybody to come help me because their ideas aren't as good as mine. I've got to go buy all the supplies. I've got to come up with the decorations that I want. I'm going to hang the decorations up because they might put it in the wrong spot, or they're going to use a stapler instead of tape, or they're going to use a hot glue gun instead of whatever. You all know. You all are probably sitting there laughing. We've been there. We've been there, haven't we? Where we will not ask anybody for help because we think it's a sign of weakness. And even if we don't think it's a sign of weakness, it's a sign of, hey, I'm losing control. If I ask somebody to help, or if they ask for me help, I've lost my control. I don't have total control. If we are that way, we are the controlling farmer. And we've got to watch that. So we have the characteristics. We have the condition of the I'm self-confident. I'm going to do it my way. So what happens if we are this controlling farmer? What are our consequences? The first consequence is he is so diligent that he becomes driven, intense, and cannot continue physically. He puts so much of this on him. He has so much on him. He won't let any help. He gets worn out. He's trying to do it all himself, and he just physically can't do it. How many of us are like that? How many of us are like that in our daily lives, in church, at work? We think we have to do everything all by ourselves, and we are just worn out. We physically can't do it. The second consequence is this controlling farmer, he's going to change when he realizes what his problem is. And what do we know that his problem is? Pride. Pride. I'm the best. Nobody can do it like me. It won't be done right if I don't. Pride, pride, pride. Now, it doesn't say here that he boasts about his work, but if I am so controlling and it's all about me, I've got to do everything from A to Z in a certain order, we kind of want that pat on the back, don't we? We still want that you did a great job. Oh, that was so wonderful. We couldn't have done it without you. What is that? That's pride. And we all know pride causes a lot of problems. So are we prideful? Are we so prideful that we don't want anyone's help? If we are, we better be careful, because we may be like the controlling farmer. And is that who God wants us to be? God does not want us to be the controlling farmer. So I know we have talked about this in different aspects, different ways in other devotionals, so I'm not going to harp on it. But let's try not to be the controlling farmer. Next week we will wrap up our last farmer, and we will finish this series, and then we're going to move on to a different study. I think it's going to be something we're all going to like. So I hope everyone has a great week, and thank you for listening, and I'll see you here next week.